Hi, I'm Christy. Welcome to Weird and Witchy Shit, a place for, well, weird and witchy shit. Here we talk about everything from the magic of yoga, rituals, tarot, crystals, astrology, self-love, mental health, spiritual stuff, spooky things, and anything of the mystical variety. So if that sounds like the kind of shit you're into, then you're in the right place, my friend. Welcome to the coven. Can we have some appreciation for my jumper, which I think is the cutest thing in the world? The Grinch. So today we are diving into some freaky festive folklore by exploring 12 monsters of Christmas, so let's get right into it. Let's start with one of the most well-known crazy Christmas characters, the counterpart to Kris Kringle, Krampus. Why am I being so theatre today? I don't know. Stories of Krampus originate from as early as the 1600s in Eastern Alpine Europe, Germany and Austria, with the name Krampus deriving from the German word Krampen, meaning claw. He's normally depicted as like a half-human, half-goat-like monster with big horns, really kind of long shaggy hair, a long snake-like tongue. And he travels around on December 5th, known as Krampusnacht or Krampus Night, and he punishes naughty children. So if you're watching this in real time, December 5th is long past, so it looks like you're in the clear for this year at least. But next year, when December 5th rolls around again, if you hear the jingling of bells and the clip-clopping of hooves on your roof, it might be something a little bit more sinister than Santa Claus. The punishment that Krampus gives out to naughty children really varies, I guess, just depending on their level of naughtiness, or maybe just how he's feeling, who the hell knows. Some will be beaten, some will be eaten, and some will be dragged to the depths of hell. And the good children need not worry, because the next morning they will be given gifts from St. Nicholas on a day known as the Feast of St. Nicholas. Krampus is the son of the Norse god Hel, which of course is the name that we give to the fiery place that baddies go to burn for all of eternity. But the word Hel actually means goddess of death. That's so fucking metal. I love it so much. It's believed that Krampus was part of pagan traditions around the winter solstice. As we know, Christians either love to borrow pagan traditions and change them up a bit to fit their own narrative, or they like to try and get rid of them if they feel like it threatens their beliefs. And Krampus was one monster in particular that they really fought to get rid of, and they hated him and wanted tales of Krampus and celebrations of Krampus to stop due to his devilish looks. However, Krampus continues to live on, and in fact you could even argue that he's got even more popular because his name is known now all throughout the world, and he has been massively popularised in stories and horror movies. And then there is, of course, Krampuslauf or Krampus Run, which is a festival where people dress up as the horned monster and run through the streets, scaring people, celebrating Krampus and getting very, very drunk. Sounds like a great time, count me in. You know, some people say they were born to be bad. I was born to be Belsnickle.
Oh, Belsnickle has travelled from distant lands to discover how all the boys and the girls have been behaving this last year. Oh, too much strudel.
So he's kind of like Santa, except dirty and worse.
No, much better. No one fears Santa the way they fear Belsnickle. Wow.
That's my favorite part of Christmas, the authority.
And the fear.
Yes, exactly.
Belsnickle is a fur-clad man who looks very raggedy and very dirty. Sometimes he wears a mask to cover his face, and just like Krampus, he has a very long tongue. What is the deal with the long tongue thing? I have to know. It's thought that Belsnickle has German origins as well as Pennsylvania Dutch, and he is a little bit less intense than Krampus. He won't drag you to hell or eat you, but he will beat you with a stick. But only if you're bad, because if he's good, he will deliver cakes and sweets and other small gifts to you. So really, the ball is pretty much in your court. Belsnickle will show up at your door a few weeks before Christmas, rap on the door with his long stick known as a switch, and when children answer the door, they would have to greet him by answering a question or singing a song to him. He would then take a handful of sweets, scramble them on the floor, and when the children would kneel down to pick the sweets up, he would beat them over the back with his stick if they were thought to be naughty children, or if they were perceived to be greedy by rushing too quickly to go and grab the sweets. Way back in 1830, Belsnickle was known as Kristysyogacoven, or the Christmas woman, because he was often wearing women's clothing, and he was described as a woman with masculine force and action. Slay queen. And speaking of queens, next we have Gryla, the Icelandic ogress whose name literally means a scare. Sometimes she is depicted as a giant troll carrying a sack, and sometimes she has horns, hooves, and 13 to 15 tails, which in each tail she carries 100 sacks that she puts 100 naughty children on the end of each tail so that she can kidnap them. And her absolute favourite meal is child stew, and her hunger is insatiable. Tales of Gryla had been used for centuries to scare children to sleep until a public decree was passed in 1746 banning the spooky storytelling practice. Gryla is said to live in a cave in the Dimmu lava fields. I really hope that I've said that right. I had never heard of these lava fields before, so I looked up pictures and they truly are actually amazing. It looks like such like a mysterious magical place where you can expect to find a child eating troll, and actually the way like the lava is like formed, it looks really, really cool. Like it looks almost like a castle or like different types of buildings. Yeah, it's really, really beautiful. And these lava fields were formed more than 2,000 years ago by a massive volcanic eruption, and to this day it's one of Iceland's most iconic attractions that is filled with folklore and mythology tales. Gryla doesn't live here alone though. She actually stays here with her third husband, Lepaluli. I've looked up how to pronounce his name also, and that's as close as I can get with my Glaswegian accent. Lepaluli. This guy honestly doesn't really do much but sit at home and stay in the cave all day while Gryla is out hunting and gathering naughty children to feed her family. Not just her husband, but also their 13 naughty children known as the Yule Lads. The Yule Lads are slightly less intense than their mother Gryla. They are more likely to just cause a little bit of mischief rather than actual murder, and they arrive one by one on the 13 nights leading up to Christmas, and then they depart again one by one starting on Christmas Day. Children will leave their shoe on a window ledge for the Yule Lads, and if they've been good, they might wake up to find a little gift in their shoe, and if they've been naughty, they will wake up to find a rotten potato instead. So I would love to tell you all the Icelandic names of all the Yule Lads, but I do feel like we will be here forever. So I am just going to tell you the English translation of their names, and I will put their Icelandic names on the screen somewhere so that if so that you can see that for yourself. So Yule Lad number 1 is Sheepcoat Claude, who will harass your sleep, but he has impaired movement due to his stiff peg legs. Gully Gawk, who hides in gullies, waiting for the opportunity to sneak into the cowshed and steal milk. Stubby, who steals pans to eat the crusts from them. Spoon Licker, who, funnily enough, licks spoons and is abnormally thin due to malnutrition. No, I'm laughing at malnutrition, I'm just laughing at just eat something other than licking spoons, but okay. Pot scraper, who steals leftovers from pots, and I'm sure you're starting to get the gist that the names here are really quite literal. Bowl licker, who hides under beds and waits for somebody to put their bowl down so that he can steal it and lick it. Door slammer, who slams doors, usually in the middle of the night, waking the whole house up. Skur gobbler, who gobbles skur, which is something similar to yogurt. Sausage swiper, who hides in the rafters and steals sausages that are being smoked. Window peeper, who peeps in windows, but not in like a creepy way. Oh my god, bikini! He doesn't peep in your windows in a creepy way, he's just looking for things to steal from you. Doorway sniffer. Doorway sniffer, who has a huge nose and a great sense of smell that he uses to locate leaf bread. I also didn't know what leaf bread was, but I looked it up, and again, that looks absolutely amazing. It looks delicious. How much skill must go into like making bread look like a leaf? I feel like that's so cool. Meat hook, who steals meat with a hook. And then candle stealer, who steals candles from children. And Gryla's family is full of crazy cats. Quite literally, they also have a pet who is known as the Yule Cat. The real name of the Yule Cat is Kallikantzaroi, and this is a giant cat said to be incredibly evil, often depicted with glowing eyes and lurking in the countryside looking for children to eat. But the good news is the Yule Cat will only eat children who aren't wearing new clothes over the festive period, which for me that seems a little bit classist, but okay, pop off Yule Cat if you must. Frau Perchta is a goddess from Alpine paganism dating all the way back to the early Middle Ages. She goes by a few names other than Frau Perchta. She also goes by Bercha, which is a name closely associated with Bertentag, or the Feast of the Epiphany. This feast takes place 12 nights after Christmas on January 6th and celebrates the visit of the Magi, or the three wise men to Jesus, and the baptism of Jesus as well. Perchta is known as the Bright One or the Shining One, and she is said to be a protector of women and children, and she is also the goddess of between places. So for instance, she could be found in the place between life and death, the place between safety and danger, and the place between the switching times of the year. I mean, this sounds great, right? A beautiful goddess and protector, nothing too scary here, but because of her duality, she is often thought to have this other side of her. So there is the bright one, the shining one, who is this wonderful goddess who protects people, but she can also be thought of as being between good and bad at the same time. On one hand, she's this beautiful, youthful, shining goddess, and on the other hand, she appears as this ugly, terrifying, evil old crone. And in her crone form, she would punish people who didn't celebrate the 12 days of Christmas properly by visiting them in the middle of the night, cutting their belly open, taking their insides out, and replacing their guts with straw and pebbles. It's called range. Nisse, sometimes named Tomte, originates in Norway and is most comparable to looking like your common little garden gnome. They're actually very cute. So normally they look like wee old men, you know, with the classic long beards, pointy hat, gnome vibes. The Nisse kind of vary in size. Some are about 3 feet tall and some are only a couple of inches tall as well. He may only have 4 fingers on each hand and eyes that glow in the dark. Although some stories do depict them as being as tall as a human and only having one big huge eye, so like Cyclops. Opinions on the appearance of the Nisse vary so much, but this is probably because they're known to be incredibly skilled shapeshifters and they're able to make themselves invisible on command, so any glimpses of them have probably been very brief. If you are going to spot one though, the best chance that you'll have of seeing one is on a farm, because this is normally where they live. And actually an ancient belief once was that the Nisse were in fact the spirit of the first inhabitant of the farm. Another trait of them is that although they are teeny tiny, they are incredibly strong, like way stronger than a human. And one thing that they have super high standards on is tradition and always keeping things like as they should be, especially when it comes to farm work. And things that they really hate is like rudeness, swearing, you know. And they really like to be left gifts. If you don't leave them an appropriate gift, either it's just a bit rubbish or it wasn't exactly to their liking, this is when they might cause a little bit of mischief for you. Now, and in this scenario, I'm being a bit fast and loose with the term mischief, because that could literally mean anything from playing a little prank to leaving the farm completely to committing actual violent crimes. One story tells of a Nisse being given rice pudding on Christmas Eve, as they very much like to have. However, this particular Nisse really liked to have butter on top of his rice pudding. So when he seen the rice pudding and there was no butter on it, he flew into a fit of rage. He went out to the barn of the farm where the cow was resting and he killed the cow. But the rice pudding couldn't have been that bad, because the greedy little bugger went back into the kitchen, finished the rice pudding, and when he got to the bottom, he realised that the butter was in the bottom of the rice pudding. So whoever had left it out for him had gave him the butter, they just put it at the bottom instead. So he felt guilty over this, so he went to another farm and found a cow that looked similar to the cow that he killed, and swapped the dead cow and the alive cow over, so that the farm that he was living on, they wouldn't know that he had murdered their cow. But then this poor innocent farmer on this other farm will wake up in the morning and be like, what the actual fuck? In another tale, a maid ate a bowl of porridge that had been left out for the Nisse, and I guess she just seen the bowl of porridge, didn't think that it had been left out for them, and she ate it herself. When one of the Nisse came through and seen what she had done, he beat her bloody until she was almost dead. So they're very, very temperamental little guys. While he was beating her, he was shouting, "Have you eaten the porridge for the Nisse? You have to dance with him." Hans Trapp, or the Christmas Scarecrow, was actually a real-life man in the 1400s by the name of Hans von Trotha, which is a really fun name to say. Hans von Trotha. There's something that just feels nice in my mouth. It's saying Hans von Trotha. Hans von Trotha. Say it, Hans von Trotha. Hans von Trotha was a German knight from an aristocratic family, and long story short, he and the Catholic Church had massive beef with each other over property, and he ended up getting himself excommunicated when he damaged a dam that led to the flooding of a village. According to the legend of Hans Trapp, he was an incredibly greedy man with an insatiable desire for more and more money, more wealth, more riches, more of everything. Kind of like Robin Hood, if Robin Hood didn't give a shit about the poor and only cared about himself. Eventually his greed got to the point that he ended up making a deal with the devil that he would give his soul to the devil in return for more wealth. and then he eventually got himself exiled due to his evil activities and clearly went into madness, whether this was the exile or the deal with the devil that he made, because he started to disguise himself as a scarecrow and he would lurk around in the night finding children to eat. Until eventually he died by being hit with a bolt of lightning while still in his scarecrow form. So even to this day, his spirit appears in the form of this scarecrow round about Christmas time, looking for little children to gobble up. The Kallikantzaroi originate in Greece and are a type of goblin-type creature who, for the most part of the year, live underground until it's time for them to come to the surface during the 12 days of Christmas. These wee guys are typically thought to be small, black, humanoid-type creatures who almost look like little devils, although some depictions do show them as having burning red eyes, monkey arms, donkey ears, and again, huge long tongues, as well as huge long protruding sexual organs. They smell disgusting and are blind, speak with a lisp, probably due to the tongue thing, and they eat small creatures such as frogs, worms, and bugs. Like I said, they stay underground and spend most of the year sawing around the trunk of the tree that holds the earth in hopes that the earth will collapse. But by the time they get to round about Christmas time, they realise that they've sawed away enough to be able to come up to the surface, so they forget about the tree and come onto Earth to come and cause havoc. While on Earth, they go on the hunt for babies that are born during the 12 days of Christmas. When they find these babies, they will steal them and turn them into Kallikantzaroi themselves. Also, if you are born on a Saturday, then you might be blessed by being able to actually communicate with these creatures. Leave in the comments below what day you were born. I was born on Thursday. What is it? Monday's child is full of grace, Tuesday's child is full of Thursday's child has far to go. If you want to protect your children during this time, you can place a colander outside your door to trick them because they'll get confused when counting the holes. Apparently, the Kallikantzaroi can only count up to 2, but if they do get to 3, because that's a holy number, they will destroy themselves. You can also keep a fire burning all night to ward them off. Bonus points if you throw an extra smelly shoe into the fire. They will not like that. You can bind your child with straw and garlic and also singe their toenails to protect them. Also, please don't do this. So by the time the Epiphany comes on January 6th, the Kallikantzaroi head back underground to continue destroying the tree, but when they get down there, they realise that in their time away, the tree has healed itself entirely, so they have to start right from the very beginning again, and this same cycle repeats every single year. December 13th is a day of celebration because it's Taylor Swift's birthday, but also it's a Christian holiday known as the Festival of Lussi, a famous Christian figure who was killed by Romans in 304 CE for her religious beliefs. But similarly to Frau Perchta, St. Lucia has a darker counterpoint, the witch Lussi. She leads the wild hunt in which witches, fairies, elves, spirits and all kinds of supernatural entities rage through the world, causing riots and terrifying humans as they go. If you witness this wild hunt, you might get dragged down into the underworld, and even if you stay safe and sound in your home, you can also be dragged to the underworld in your dreams, so I would pass on sleep altogether if I was you. Naughty children should also beware that this band of mischief makers love to come down chimneys and in windows to steal naughty children, but adults also don't get off so easily, because if you haven't completed all your Yuletide tasks by December 13th, you too might be punished for your laziness. Mary Lwyd, meaning either Grey Mare or Holy Mary. I get the grey mare thing, like the horse thing. I mean, it's basically an undead zombie horse who roams the streets and knocks on doors begging for entry into your home. So I get the grey mare. Well, actually, I kind of get the like Virgin Mary, is there any room at the inn, knock 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 on the door. But this folklore tale is from Wales, where it's custom to dress up as Mary Lwyd with a horse's skull mounted on a pole and a little shawl draped over the head. Normally accompanied by a group of people and puppet show characters such as Punch and Judy. They travel the streets, knocking on doors and singing songs to get entry to your house, and when you say no, you kind of banter a bit back and forward. They keep asking, and then eventually the person in the house, I guess they wear them down and they will eventually say yes, and then Mary Lwyd and her little troop will all come in the house, and you then have to give them free food and free drink. It's weird, it's creepy, I love it. So let's bring this to a close with a scary Scottish monster. Crom, Dubh, Nollaig. Wow, if you thought my pronunciation of other languages was bad, fuck, I am actually like a terrible, terrible Scot. This tale is from the Hebridean island of Islay, and it's about the dark, crooked one of Christmas, who haunts naughty children around Christmas time. And you can be sure that the dark one is near when you hear their screams and the whistling of the wind in your chimney. They're coming for you. And don't think if you don't have a chimney that you're like free from this. Okay, they can still get you, right? It's fine. It's just like, it's like Santa. Santa can get to your house without a chimney. So can the dark, crooked one of Christmas. This monster is said to be quite similar to Krampus in that they beat children with birch sticks, but unfortunately I can't really find anything else on them. I can't even really find anything else on their appearance, which is quite disappointing. In my head, she's like a witch, kind of like the witch from Snow White, but creepier. So like same thing, like black cloak, I guess like long black grey shaggy hair, bent over posture, but I guess more ghostly. So like if the witch from Snow White was really terrifying and also a ghost. That's just what I've got in my head. Like Alice Cooper, if Alice Cooper was like being like scary. Stories of the dark, crooked one of Christmas, however, have terrified children for generations, and each story tells a slightly different tale. And I guess that's what I like about these stories as well, even though we don't have like a description of what this monster looks like or really too much else to do with it. The thing about these stories is that they are passed on based on other people's experiences, based on what their parents or grandparents told them and what they passed down to their kids and what they'll pass down to their kids and what I'm passing on to you, and so on and so forth, and maybe even based on their actual experiences of running into the dark, crooked one of Christmas or any of these 12 monsters that we've spoke about today. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Who is your favourite creepy Christmas character? It can be someone that I've mentioned today, someone that I've not mentioned, or if you have like any cool facts about any of the monsters that I've brought up today, maybe it's from the place that you live, maybe you've had a run-in with them, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know. And this will probably be the last video now until the new year, I think. So if that is the case, have a wonderful Christmas, have a wonderful new year, and I hope that nothing too spooky happens to you. Bye. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can get me on Instagram at kristysyogacoven, that's KRISTYS_coven. You can also find me on YouTube at Kristy's Coven, where I post a lot of free yoga classes and shit like that, and I'd love to have you join because it's not a coven if it's just me. And until next time, bye!